Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on which part of the world you're in. My name is Joshua Hawley. I'm reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam. I have been continuing without recording video over the weekend, so I have skipped forward a few verses from where we left off on the recording. This is Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 2. And I am now ahead to text number 13. The chapter is entitled Divinity and Divine Service. This is with translations and purports by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. And the Bhagavatam is with original Sanskrit to English, transliteration, English verse, and purport. Starting with the invocation. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Cheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayad Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttaman Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naistaki Srinvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridyanta Sto Yabarani Vedunoti Suhrit Satam. Text number 13. Ata Pumbir Dvija Shrestha Varnashram Vibhagashaha Swanustitasya Dharmasya Samsidir Haritoshanam. Ataha Pumbir Dvija Shrestha Varnashram Vibhagasaha Swanustitasya Dharmasya Samsadir Haritoshanam. Ataha Pumbir Dvija Shrestha Varnashram Vibhagasaha Swanustitasya Dharmasya Samsadir Haritoshanam. Ataha, so Pumbihi, by the human being, Dvija Shrestha, a best among the twice born. Varna Ashram, the institution of 4 castes and 4 orders of life. Vibhagasaha, by the division of Swanustitasya, of one's own prescribed duties. Dharmasya, occupational. Samsiddhi, the highest perfection. Hari, the personality of Godhead. Toshanam, pleasing. Translation. O best among the twice born, it is therefore concluded that the highest perfection one can achieve by discharging the duties prescribed for one's own occupation according to caste divisions and orders of life is to please the personality of Godhead. Purport. Human society all over the world is divided into 4 castes and 4 orders of life. The 4 castes are the intelligent caste, the martial caste, the productive caste, and the laborer caste. These castes are classified in terms of one's work and qualification and not by birth. Then again, there are 4 orders of life, namely the student life, the householder's life, the retired, and the devotional life. In the best interest of human society, there must be such divisions of life, otherwise no social institution can grow in a healthy state. And in each and every one of the above-mentioned divisions of life, the aim must be to please the supreme authority of the personality of Godhead. This institutional function of human society is known as a system of Varnashram Dharma, which is quite natural for the civilized life. The Varnashram institution is constructed to enable one to realize the absolute truth. It is not for artificial domination of one division over another. When the aim of life, i.e., realization of the absolute truth, is missed by too much attachment for indriya priti, or sense gratification, as already discussed here and before, the institution of the Varna ashram is utilized by selfish men to pose an artificial predominance over the weaker section. In the Kali Yuga, or in the age of quarrel, this artificial predominance is already current, but the saner section of the people know it well, that the divisions of castes and orders of life are meant for smooth social intercourse and high-thinking self-realization, and not for any other purpose. Herein the statement of Bhagavatam is that the highest aim of life, or the highest perfection of the institution of the Varnashram Dharma, is to cooperate jointly for the satisfaction of the Supreme Lord. This is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 4.13. Text number 14. Tasmad ekena manasa bhagavan sattvatam pati shrotavya kirtitavyascha deya pujascha nityada. Tasmad ekena manasa bhagavan sattvatam pati shrotavya kirtitavyascha deya pujascha nityada. Tasmad ekena manasa bhagavan sattvatam pati shrotavya kirtitavyascha deha pujaschya nityada. Tasmat, therefore, ekena, by one. Manasa, attention of the mind. Bhagavan, the personality of Godhead. Sattvatam, of the devotees. Patihi, protector. Shrotavyaha, is to be heard. Kirtitavyaha, to be glorified. Cha, and deyaha, to be remembered. Pujaha, to be worshipped. Cha, and nityada, constantly. Translation. Therefore, with one pointed attention, one should constantly hear about, glorify, remember, and worship the personality of Godhead, who is the protector of the devotees. Purport. If realization of the absolute truth is the ultimate aim of life, it must be carried out by all means. In any one of the above-mentioned castes and orders of life, the four processes, namely glorifying, hearing, remembering, and worshiping, are general occupations. Without these principles of life, no one can exist. Activities of the living being involve engagements in these four different principles of life. Especially in modern society, all activities are more or less dependent on hearing and glorifying. Any man from any social status becomes a well-known man in human society within a very short time if he is simply glorified truly or falsely in the daily newspapers. Sometimes political leaders of a particular party are also advertised by newspaper propaganda, and by such a method of glorification an insignificant man becomes an important man within no time. But such propaganda by false glorification of an unqualified person cannot bring about any good, either for the particular man or for the society. There may be some temporary reactions to such propaganda, but there are no permanent effects. Therefore, such activities are a waste of time. The actual object of glorification is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who has created everything manifested before us. We have broadly discussed this fact in our comments on the Janmadhya Yasya Shloka at the beginning of the Bhagavatam. The tendency to glorify others or hear others must be turned to the real object of glorification, the Supreme Being, and that will bring happiness. Text number 15. Yad anud Yasina Jukta Karma Granti Nipandham Chendanti Kavidastasya Kona Kuryat Kataratim. Yad Anudyasina Yukta Karma Granti Nipandhanam Chendanti Kavidastasya Kona Kuryat Kataratim. Yat anudyasina jukta karma granti nibandhanam chendanti kovidastasya kona kuryat kataratin. Jet, which, anudya, remembrance, asina, sword, juktaha, being equipped with, karma, reactionary work, granti, not, nipandanam, internet, chindanti, cut, kovida, intelligent, tasya, his, kaha, who, na, not, kuryat, shall do, kata, messages, ratim, attention. Translation. With sword in hand, intelligent men cut through the binding knots of reactionary work, karma, by remembering the personality of Godhead. Therefore, who will not pay attention to his message? Purport. The contact of the spiritual spark with material elements creates a knot which must be cut if one wants to be liberated from the actions and reactions of fruitive work. Liberation means freedom from the cycle of reactionary work. This liberation automatically follows for one who constantly remembers the transcendental pastimes of the personality of Godhead. This is because all the activities of the Supreme Lord, his Leela, are transcendental to the modes of the material energy. They are all attractive spiritual activities, and therefore constant association with the spiritual activities of the Supreme Lord gradually spiritualizes the conditioned soul and ultimately severs the knot of material bondage. Liberation from material bondage is therefore a byproduct of devotional service. Attainment of spiritual knowledge is not sufficient to ensure liberation. Such knowledge must be overcoated with devotional service so that ultimately the devotional service alone predominates. Then liberation is made possible. Even the reactionary work of the fruitive workers can lead one to liberation when it is overcoated with devotional service. Karma overcoated with devotional service is called karma yoga. Similarly, empirical knowledge overcoated with devotional service is called jnana yoga. But pure bhakti yoga is independent of such karma and jnana because it alone can not only endow one with liberation from conditional life, but also award one the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Therefore, any sensible man who is above the average man with a poor fund of knowledge must constantly remember the personality of Godhead by hearing about him, by glorifying him, by remembering him, and by worshiping him always without cessation. That is the perfect way of devotional service. The Goswamis of Vrindavan, who were authorized by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to preach the Bhakti cult, rigidly followed this rule and made immense literatures of transcendental science for our benefit. They have chalked out ways for all classes of men in terms of the different castes and orders of life in pursuance of the teachings of Srimad Bhagavatam and similar other authoritative scriptures. Thank you very much.